take up, or are you happy just to settle for a wee charter for optimists and then be encouraged to get along to the AGM for STEP, which is crying out for new members and support? You okay with that? I just want to do something weird with you. People keep talking about interesting times, don't they? I think we live in interesting times, but actually I think they're freaking impossible, really, aren't they? We've just been talking about that in the workshop session. And one of the things I would like to do just very quickly, before we actually finish off, is just to get you to look at this. And I know some of you will have seen it before, and I know some of you will already be very familiar with it, and it helps, David, if you look at the right presentation. But let's just have a wee look at this. No, let's not have a wee look at that. Let's have a wee look at the other presentation that I was looking at before. Let's have a wee look at this.
Ian's still the highest scoring striker ever to play for Arsenal, and he owes a lot to the man who first taught him to kick a ball, his old school teacher, Sid Pigden.
As I haven't seen him for, what, 23, 24 years, and so he would now be expecting me to be 6 feet under, I would think. I don't actually think, he probably won't recognise me because he won't believe it's me. Hello, Ian. Long time no see.
Mr. Pigden, you're alive.
I'm alive, he says. How are you doing?
I can't believe it. Someone said you was dead.
As you see, I'm very much in, and I'm so glad you've done so well with yourself.
He was so supportive all the time. He kind of like had me as his kind of like special guy.
I don't know what to say.
Oh,
God, I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
You know, now I realise how important he was in my life. The first main imposing figure, male figure in my life, who was trying to guide me on the right road.
how far are we going back now? 40 years, 30
easy,
years anyway.
Easy, 32 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's talked about this earlier on, but that's one of the things that I think really captures for me lots of things that I would want you to take away from today. I would want you to take away from today the idea of what would have helped Chris Kilkenny, because the real area where attainment can be raised is with kids like Chris. If you want to get value added, it'll be with kids like Chris, and the strategies often that we use to do that, to raise that attainment, will come from the care and the investment. OECD research also says that young people who come from middle-class backgrounds will buy into almost any educational experience because they know it's worked for their parents. They don't all, but lots of them do. Whereas for children like Chris, we've got to part the nettles. And I think if all you take from that is some confidence, and the other reason why, or one of the other reasons why I deeply love that clip, is that I think Mr. Pigden's just such an ordinary guy. You know, when he comes walking up, you don't think, oh, wow, charisma. You just see a decent man who cared and took an interest. And there's something hugely important for me around that, because one of the issues we need to grapple with is this conflict between sustainable practice and best practice. One of the things that we need to wrestle with is the idea that actually, I was saying to Graham Logan this morning, that his stuff about observation, why would you ever observe somebody? Just curious, why would you ever observe somebody? Why wouldn't you free them from their class, take their kids, find out what the kids could do, look at their jotter, see what they've been doing over the course of the experience, so that you had enough ammunition to have a conversation with them about their improvement, and they'd had 55 minutes or an hour or 45 minutes or whatever to go away and do something productive. I'm just putting it out there. I'm not suggesting that the whole culture, but you see what I'm getting at around this, that we need actually to open up some of these conflicts. And I think it's to STEP's credit that what they've tried to do today is to say, let's get Graham here, let's let Graham tell us where it's at. And I thought he was more encouraging today than I've ever heard him before. I thought he really captured so many things. But it's still this idea, observation makes perfectly clear we're still talking top down and not bottom up. You know, we're still talking top down and not bottom up. We're still talking about what are you going to do. And I was saying to colleagues in my workshop, the schools that are successful are not you schools, they're we schools. They're schools where there's a recognition that school improvement is a joint responsibility, and where we ask teachers what would help you. What would help you to make that difference? And you've been great today. And again, apologies to people who were in my workshop. Do you know, the thing that moved me today so much was your response. Your response today was lovely. People just erupted into clapping at the oddest moments. It was just brilliant, because it was just a constant sense in the room that you wanted to say thank you to Chris for being brave enough to come along and tell his story, and tell it without bitterness, tell it without rancor. He didn't come along to make you feel bad. You know, he was prepared to slip out of even the most ghastly parts of his story and lapse into a joke, try to make you laugh, do all of that stuff. And you responded to that in spades. That's what will make teaching such a brilliant profession. What we mustn't do is constrain and damage that. And I think there needs to be a recognition that, and again, I used this quote earlier when I was talking about Chris, care is a strategy for raising attainment. It's not an either or. And again, I would want to emphasise that, because what raised Ian Wright's attainment was when Mr. Pigden gave him responsibilities for doing all sorts of things. It wasn't all about strategy, structures and revision. It was about giving him opportunities. And sometimes I think we need to think about that. What does an opportunity look like for children in these circumstances? And we need to get people convinced. Again, I can't remember when I was saying this today, right? But one of the things we need to start doing is, when are we going to start talking to parents about that engagement data that Graham talked about to us? Because most parents in Scotland are not going to give a flying fig about your attainment unless it's in literacy, numeracy, hires. That's what they ask about, isn't it? You know, we're not going to get schools to move forward unless they're permitted to, unless you're giving them that encouragement to. And I'm hoping that Graham will take that discussion around these other values. You've given them that clear message today. You've given them that very clear message today, as Amanda Corrigan spoke about in the session, that we need to have recognition for those measures which actually tell us about children's capacity to engage. Because if we can get children to engage, we can raise their attainment. We cannot raise their attainment if they're not prepared to buy into it. And there are so many issues, I think, where you have demonstrated how ready we are as a profession to make a positive change in the lives of the young people to whom we are responsible. And it's just been so much of a privilege to be part of this today. Not just because of what Chris did, nor because of the contribution from colleagues who delivered workshops and all the rest of it, but because of the way you've approached the whole day. That is absolutely gold dust. Give me a teacher who cares about children, and I can solve technical difficulties for them in terms of their pedagogy. Give me a teacher that loves their subject and is indifferent to their children. I'm dealing with a lost cause. And what you've done, I think, very clearly today is demonstrated that you are here for someone else. You know, you might hope that you'll get something for your own CPD and your own development, but you've demonstrated above all else that you're here for other people. And you showed that so powerfully in the way that you responded to Chris. And I'm not, and don't get me wrong, I'm not arguing for a moment that it's enough simply to care. We do need to capture the learning. We do need to look at how we can ensure that when young people go out and they have these experiences, that when they come back, we ask them, what new words have you learned? What new vocabulary? Write them down. Do that so that you capture the learning. I've been doing a lot of work with a guy called Howell Roberts, where we've gone in, we've been teaching, we've been giving the teachers the opportunity to then go and try any of the things that we've been talking about. And the last session we do with them is they report back to us on what they've done, they show us what they've done, and then we spend time with them saying, how would you nail this in terms of formal assessment? Because we've got to do both. We've got to capture the learning as well as open up these experiences. And we need to think about that, because again, Graham Logan was brilliant this morning when he talked about the importance of assessment and rigour. But the reality is, if we bring in national testing, that will be the benchmark. And you will not win any medals for your improvements in well-being if you're not getting a gold for your literacy and numeracy. And what will happen is that the curriculum will go like that again. And there's a real thing that we need to do. And when I spoke today, and I will stop in time, but when I spoke today about this thing about looking for the quality in young people, not simply needing to know about what their weaknesses, problems and difficulties are, but knowing what their strengths and possibilities are, so powerful. Always tell the same story about it. I was working in Kilmarnock College, and the principal said to me, I went and find Nicholas Pirrie and talked to him. And I went, all right, okay. So I went and found this guy, and he was like in a white shell suit. I thought he was getting married. And he had, you know, the piercings, the tattoos, the whole bit. And I said to him, I'm told I need to speak to you, Nicholas. Why would that be? He goes, oh, that's because I've been in 14 schools. And I went, 14 schools? Were you part of a travelling family? He goes, not. I says, were your dad in the military? He goes, not. I said, why were you in so many schools? He goes, I got kicked out of 13. I fell into the trap. I said, what did the 14 school do right? The other 13 did wrong. So didn't take me till I was 2 weeks off 16. They didn't have time to complete the paperwork. And I said, why did you have so many problems? And he goes, I had the full hand. And he held up his hand, just in case I didn't understand. And he said, I had the ADHD, I had the dyslexia, I had the dyspraxia, I was on the autistic spectrum, and I had a peanut allergy. And I'd suggested to him the peanut allergy wasn't the main thing holding him back. But nonetheless, I said to him, you're doing really well at college, Nicholas. He goes, yeah. I said, have you still got the full hand? And he goes, of course. And I said, so what's made the difference? Somebody finally saw past the labels. And that power, I think, of giving children the opportunity to surprise us, because otherwise how else will we define potential, takes us into some really interesting issues around pedagogy. I think there are challenges. I think we need to clarify, and again I said this in the workshop, we need to clarify the tension in Graham's presentation between the emphasis and flexibility and doing what's right for you and the idea that there were parameters. You know, there were quite clear messages about what you couldn't do and what you shouldn't do. And, you know, I thought it was really interesting when he said somebody wanted to buy carpets. That'll no raise attainment. Well, it will in a school if it's bloody noisy when kids walk in, or if there's holes in the floor and they're tripping over linoleum. You know, all of that stuff might be a good idea. If there's an issue about the status of the school, if there's an issue about noise in the classes, if there's issues and all sorts, carpets might be a perfectly sensible intervention. I don't know. Presumably the folk in the school weren't sitting going, bloomin' heck, I've got absolutely no idea what to spend this raising attainment dosh on. What do you think? We'll get some carpets in. Do you know, I think the kids would respond better if we all went and got our hair done. I think we'll just spend some money on I'd never heard of pedagogy, me. You know, I've never heard of pedagogy or resources. I think I'll get waxed. You know, I think it's that kind of, I mean, it's just unbelievable, isn't it? So we can't have it both ways. They can't have it both ways. That's what happened with Curriculum for Excellence. I said this in the workshop, that people came in and they said, 4 capacities in a washing machine diagram. No, I might get it wrong. And so we asked for more definition and support. And then we got so much definition and support we couldn't cope with it. So we suddenly started to panic and back off again. And it's that idea, I think, let's have some clarity, let's ask from people. But the final thing is that if we're going to say, let's look beyond the labels, let's do that with you as well. Let's talk with each other about what the things we are doing that are right. Let's talk with each other about the things we're feeling that are right. Let's talk to each other about the investment that we're making emotionally, and if it sounds sentimental, I make no apology for it. This is the best time ever for me in my entire career in terms of the professionalism of the teachers that I know and work with. I would never have seen anything like the development of pedagogy. I would never have seen anything like the development of Teach Meets much earlier in my career. I would never have seen somebody like Fergal Kelly being engaged in a national agency coming along to talk about teacher agency. I would never have seen that. And he wouldn't have got a hearing in many areas earlier in the career because we weren't engaged in that discussion. We didn't understand all of these things. The level of professionalism, the understanding of pedagogy and teaching and learning is now at a far higher level. The idea of getting people to come out on a Saturday for an event like this that just absolutely lifts my spirits. We need to talk about that. We need to celebrate it because that's where the energy will come from. And if you take nothing else away from it, take away this. Let's not think about the Mr. Pigden in the film. Let's think about the Mr. Pigdens in the room. Let's think about that young woman whom that young person spoke to in her school, who took the child's concerns on, took them forward, got assistance, got support. She's Mr. Pigden. There'll be an awful lot of other Mr. Pigdens in this room. This is not an exhortation for you to transform yourselves, to change yourselves totally and to improve. This is an opportunity for you to go away and strengthen those things which you're doing well, and from that draw energy. I'm absolutely convinced that the group of teachers in this room will make a difference. Can we thank the STEP committee for giving you that opportunity? Can we show our support from them by at least thinking about getting along to the